Welcome everybody to the Mississinewa High School regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Monday, December 18th. This time I'd like to ask Board Member Spike Gaskin, lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, this season of your son's birth, we give thanks for the school year, and we miss those ones that can't be with us due to the distance they travel. And we ask that you be with those that are coming or those that are traveling to be with family. Make this a wondrous Christmas and a happy New Year for all the families of the Mississinewa community, the veterans that serve our country. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Gaskin. Item 268, minutes of previous meeting.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham.
I make a motion to approve the minutes and also the executive session certification is presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Cunningham. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crouch. Any comments or discussion regarding previous minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 269, trap team proposal. Mr.
Yes, as per your school board packet for this week, we gave you some written information on this proposal. And Mr. Young is here with us today, and he's brought some guests with him today to help in this presentation of this proposal. So, Mr. Young, you want to step forward and
We appreciate Mr. McKenzie and Mrs. Winter taking time to put this on the agenda. This is a process that started at the end of last school year. Had a couple of students come to me, which is not uncommon, to ask, what do you think about this team or idea? And it was presented as a trap team, and again, usually these are fairly frequent requests from lacrosse to ping pong to whatever type of team they want to add to our sports. But the group that came to me, they did a really good job when they presented, hey, what do you think about this? Oak Hill has just started the team last year, so they had information from Oak Hill. The young men that presented to me have done their research. It was more than just a whim of coming to see, hey, this is something that can we do. They really had put some time into researching it and giving me all the facts, which was very helpful. And when they came to me with trap team, I really had no idea what that meant or what that was. Essentially, I guess the easy way would be like clay pigeon shooting. Probably the best way to describe it. We had the end of last school year and throughout the summer, we had been in contact with Oak Hill since they had just started their team, and I had done my research to see what the logistics are, what the safety issues would be coming up, or having a trap team. And I felt like we've put a lot of time in between the students that presented, myself, meeting with Mr. Huntington, who leads Oak Hill's team. So essentially this team is a club team, or would be a club team. They are run through themselves. There's really no school dollars that would go to them as a club team. They would use the Mississinewa name. It would be Mississinewa students for the purpose of the league that we would play in. And essentially they would practice, depending on what the coach wanted to do, practice however many days a week. It is open to both male and female students. They would practice at the local shooting range, which we have been in contact with, and they are more than excited to have us come out there and participate out there. But essentially, for me, it came down to what is the safety issues when you put young people, I guess, in these positions. The concerns, are brought up. And having talked with Mr. Huntington from Oak Hill, having done my research of other teams, this has really taken off really in Wisconsin, and then it's kind of slowly spreading down to our area now. But in the 15 to 20 years that this has been going on, there have been 0 incidents, accidents, or injuries that can be spoken for, which I think says a lot about the safety preparation that they take to have the students to be able to participate. Each student is required to go through a safety certification, 10+ hours of safety certification. And then additional would be whatever the shooting range or the range would have them, any safety requirements that they would have them complete would have to be necessary before they can participate. And in my mind, and I know this is probably too simple, but I thought, okay, if we have 10 or 15 kids from Mississinewa and 10 or 15 kids from Oak Hill, all with guns, that really made me nervous. And my mind,
after a football game.
yeah, right. My mind was put at ease in talking and researching and finding. Essentially, everything is done online. So they will shoot with our team, basically by ourselves at the range. The scores are then uploaded online, and whatever team you're competing against, the scores are then posted, and you see if you won or lost, and then your standings within the league. So basically, our kids would be there when our coach would set up time with the range. In order to participate, you have to have a minimum of 5, I believe 5 students. And that was my other question, how many students are we going to have? Like, how many are interested? And how many are we willing to go through the safety measures that the league requires? And we think we'll have around 10 or 15 students that have shown interest, have kind of agreed in principle to go through the safety training, and are really excited about it. And the other piece for me was just an opportunity for some students that are interested in a different field, so to speak, to have an opportunity to compete and essentially represent Mississinewa. I think it helps us reach more kids to get them involved in something that's kind of unique and different, but certainly targets a specific group of kids that have a specific talent and interest in trap shooting. The popularity of it has grown in the last 10 or 15 years, and again, it's kind of spreading down at the high school level. For us, again, I think Mrs. Townsend was looking into the insurance, but being a part of the league provides you, the league provides you, covers you with insurance. The shooting range also has insurance qualifications that they go through so that our students can shoot there. Obviously, there would be no weapons or no guns at school. That would, it's not acceptable, and it would be, and generally, from talking to Mr. Huntington, generally they practice later in the evening because at Oak Hill, they had students that would play baseball or run track that still participated on the team, so they would kind of come after for their practices or contests or games. So I think it's a really unique opportunity for our kids. I think the safety part of it obviously is a concern, but I think with the requirements that the league has you follow, the range has you follow, and then what with our coach, Eric Richards, has been generous enough to volunteer to coach and kind of be the sponsor of this group. And having known him and talked with him about this, I think the safety requirements that he would implement on top of what is already there, I do feel really good that our students will be safe. And generally, you're going to be talking about students that already are acclimated to, shooting, going to the shooting range, and knowing the stipulations that are out there that they have. Again, I think it's exciting. I think it would be a great opportunity for our kids, and I know that there are many of them that are really excited about it. And to be perfectly honest, to get to this point, I made them jump through a lot of hoops just to see how serious that they were, and they jumped through all of them. So I think it's more than just a passing interest for them. I think they're really, really excited that you guys are listening to this idea. Mr. Huntington is here, and Coach Richards, and Tanner McGuire. He's one of our students that have kind of spearheaded, let's say, the kind of the leader of the group that came to me. So if you would have questions for them, I know that they would be excited and willing to answer. Or questions for me?
I do have one. Not to be discriminating or anything, is there any type of, or since it's going to be a school-sponsored type event or program, like some form of background or some kind of evaluation done of the students, just making sure that they are mentally and
Sure.
qualify that way anyway?
And the way I understand it, Mr. Huntington may be able to speak to that a little bit better, but as part of this, the 10-plus hours of safety training, I think that's a component of it. What they would,
And say it, you'd run it like any other club you have, and I'm sure there's certain qualifications that the kids have to meet. If they're on disciplinary, like if they're an ISS or OSS or something like that, then they're not allowed to participate in school events. This would be no different for that. And as far as safety goes, the club, or the league's rules are, if it's unsafe act, the first unsafe act, you're done for the day, the second one, you're done for the season. So, I mean, there is almost zero tolerance for anything.
What were the weapons? If they provide their own weapons?
they provide their own.
I mean, a shotgun, 12, some games?
It can't be bigger than 12.
Okay.
And they would provide ammo.
It has to be factory loads.
That's what I was getting
Yep.
at.
Do they provide guns there for students that do not have them?
A lot of students are required to supply their own. Oftentimes, what you will have is among coaches and sometimes other people that are interested in participating, they may have one that they'll loan. We watched our kids, one of the kids started with a smooth bore slug gun with the rifle sights on it, and that's what he started shooting with. And fortunately, a friend of the family was able to pick him up an inexpensive trap gun, and he went from shooting very low to double digits by the time he finished up. I mean, so with the right equipment, you can go be very successful. And so there are a lot of places. I know that there are gun shops around here that are just itching to help the kids get a good equipment for a reasonable price. So.
Well, you know I have questions, don't you?
Good.
I will talk to all, since I know everybody except the young fellow, I'll kind of direct them back there. One of them is, you already answered, this is not IHSAA,
Correct.
okay? Can a student participate in the state tournament without being school sponsored?
The state tournament that's with the league, you have to be part of the league in order to participate in the state, the league's state competition.
From the research I've done, there's no, like, you couldn't enter an individual.
Well, could you enter 10 individuals as a club on their own without being school
No,
sponsored?
this is the Indiana State High School Clay Target League is what the league is called.
Yes.
And one of the requirements is you must use the school's name. You have to have permission to use the school's name. Now, in the situation that you're talking about, I guess there was a possibility that a homeschool co-op could form their own team that way.
Yes. Well, that answers my question. See, we have a group here called Mississinewa Youth Sports, but are not sponsored by the school system. Am I correct on that, Danny? Correct. So therefore, if you were not school sponsored, you still could use the name Mississinewa, I believe. Okay, let me go on. Have we checked with the Indiana ISBA about the legal ramifications of this concerning the corporation?
No.
Do you think we should? Should we check with their legal department and find out anything about it?
Yeah, since you raised the question, I feel like we should.
If I hadn't raised the question, should we have anyway?
I was thinking more of the, go ahead, Marty, but I was thinking more of the insurance piece than I was the liability with that, than I was I figured if Oak Hill's in it, it's private, but go ahead.
Yeah, the bigger issue is gonna be satisfying the insurance requirements. If there's already a state, unofficial league for, that other they have in place, and the school has in place, or do we need to do some additional things? But those questions are gonna be pretty easily answered. Insurance management group will be able to, to give us pretty fast answers, would be my guess. I wouldn't anticipate it being a problem. Because I'm guessing that the ranges themselves have their own insurance requirements.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Sure.
the league, by the kids being members of the league,
Mhm.
they are covered by the league's insurance. And then shooting at Deer Creek has made Oak Hills practice and competition days a league event.
Okay.
It also helps their bylaws, but by being a league event, then we're also covered by their insurance as well.
So at this point, the school would have tertiary exposure, so 3 layers deep before something could be held against the school. So it's still something we want to get approved, just to make sure we don't do it. But that would surprise me if our insurer would say we have to do anything more.
We've been in contact with them, and we're expecting a response anytime.
Would be too much different than any other extra,
Absolutely.
extra activity other than sports, because, I mean, that's about governing sports, but all the other, band and all these other things are simply professional rules.
Yeah, that's right.
So once they function under our name, but not necessarily, you know.
I talked to Mr. Young today about the insurance issue from our school insurance perspective, and I told him that I wasn't going to be comfortable making a recommendation until I had that answer. And we were hoping right up to the time that we came this evening that Trent might respond, but he hasn't yet. So I asked Mr. Young, is that gonna cause a problem if the recommendation doesn't come until January 15th, which is our next board meeting? And he didn't think so.
Right.
You wanna expand on that?
The registration for the league, when we checked, is in late February, early March.
Should we just table this until, I mean?
That's the board's prerogative, but I wasn't gonna ask you first. I wasn't gonna recommend
Okay.
this to you yet till I get the answers to that question.
I thought this was going to be a recommendation.
So they're not
I
gonna.
put it on there
Yeah.
just in case, but it wasn't gonna come from me unless I had that
Unless you
answer.
heard from Fran.
Yeah, so I was ready to make a recommendation, but I was also ready to pull it if I didn't get that answer, so.
Okay.
My recommendation then would be to table it till I have that answer, but you might have other questions.
I've got a few more. Eric, I have complete confidence in you. What are your certifications? You've been hunting and fishing all your life, probably.
I've been shooting for 30 years.
Okay. Do you have to have any particular certifications personally?
Yes. I have to have league certification, I have to have range certification, safety certifications,
So you have to go through everything
Oh,
the
yeah.
kids have to and some.
and a lot more.
Great.
And the range is Deer Creek, this would be the range we would be
Yes.
at?
It's close, it's right
Yeah.
there in Jonesboro.
Sure is.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me about psychological evaluation. You know, it's, to me, it seems strange that with all these school shootings, with kids
Mhm.
killing kids, that this is coming, you know. But I haven't made up my mind, but I'm very much safety concerned for our kids and any liability issues for the corporation. This is one where the taxpayer is not involved, you know, it's corporation and kids. And that's the only thing that, I'm not a hunter or a fisherman. I don't, guns and me don't, you know.
Well, I taught hunter safety,
Yes.
and I see the kids that are out there, and you know, as long as I've been doing this, you can walk up to somebody and immediately almost tell whether there's gonna be a problem. Just by the way they're handling themselves, by the way they handle their weapon. to reference to Mr. Gaskin's question on the hot loads, all weapons, according to me, my rules are there to be inspected. All loads are to be inspected, weapons are to be inspected before shooting at any time. So, and you have to be checked out on that weapon before. And the psychological piece is pretty evident. Once you can tell, as long as I've been doing this, you can really tell when you walk up on somebody, you can really tell whether they need to have a weapon in their hand or not.
Do they just shoot at clay pigeons,
Yes.
not targets or, okay, just for
Just
clay pigeons, all right. So it doesn't turn into a hunting club or anything? Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm hoping that, if this comes up at the January 15th meeting, I hope you'll be here.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to talk, or let some parents, some of the kids that want to participate, get their input.
Got one here now.
That's good. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to Tanner. You put together a nice presentation in writing for us to consider, and I respect the fact that you're here and that you're motivated to pursue something that's of interest and of value to you, and in representing your peers. I think you did a very good job with that. I'd also like to express our appreciation to you, Eric, for being willing to sponsor and supervise this group on a voluntary basis without any compensation expected. And I think that's honorable that you're willing to step up and do that for the kids. And was it Bill?
Ben.
Ben, I was close. Ben, thank you for volunteering your time. You're not even really an Indian, and we're looking past the fact you're legal. But we appreciate you giving up your time and part of your evening to come here and share with us and help us through this decision.
It's definitely my pleasure to be here.
We appreciate it.
If you get a chance, I really suggest going on the website. There's a whole frequently asked questions and all that sort of stuff. Indiana State High School Clay Target League. And they have laid it out wonderfully and have pretty much answered almost any question that you would have. Almost.
Well, I'm kind of like Mr. Crouch. I'm not a gun guy, and when Mr. Young sent it over to me, I said, we got to talk face to face about it. And it made me nervous, and my first image was we'd have, 10 kids from Oak Hill, 10 from Mississinewa, they'd be standing out there in the woods shooting at things up here. I could imagine all kinds of bad things happening. And Mr. Young was able to give me a very comprehensive explanation and image of what it was all about, what it looked like, and I felt a lot more comfortable with it after talking with him and after hearing additional input from you gentlemen.
The league's priorities is safety, fun, and marksmanship in that order. And they really, if you go through it, they're really high on the safety end. I mean, they very much value the fact that they are the safest sport in the United States.
Ted?
Can you explain to them, I know some of them probably know about trap shooting, exactly what they do, the steps they do to go out there, who's out there, and so they have an idea that what it's all about.
There are 5 people that shoot at a time, well, 5 people that are out there. And so you basically have 5 little, it actually is more like this with a clay, with the trap house here. And so you're at positions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what you'll do is, when it's your turn, that is the only time you put the shell into the gun. Other than that, you stand with it open. Again, that's pretty much trap rules, not just the league's rules, but that's pretty much trap rules. And anyhow, you'll call for the clay, and you'll shoot, and so one will shoot, then two, then three, then four, then five, and then you'll go back and you'll do that 5 times, and then 5 will rotate back behind to position 1, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4 will all shift to the next one, and you just do it. It's 25 shots is what it is, and your score is how many you broke. So you have the 5 people that are out shooting, and then you will have typically a scorekeeper, and then you will have a range safety officer that will be going back and forth on the different fields, monitoring and watching for people as well. And so that's kind of what it is. It's really, you can get into a swing of things that really you can go through a whole round of clays in probably 15, 20 minutes. Once you get, at the end of the season, you'll be surprised how fast they go, because they get into a nice rhythm where they just shoot them. And again, you wait till that person shoots, and then it's your turn. You put a shell in, load your gun, then you call for the clay, and then you shoot.
Are there spectators involved? I mean,
If there are, I mean, parents come and watch, but they have to stay out of the range.
and does the same person shoot each clay pigeon? There aren't 5.
There are 5 individuals, so
But
you'll
I mean,
have,
but who's shooting up pulling the, letting the?
it's all automatic.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
that's.
They're in
what
a, they're in a
okay.
concrete box.
Okay.
down-
They used to actually have someone that would be there.
Yeah.
But no, this is all, Deer Creek really has a nice setup. It's all voice command. And if the voice command doesn't work, they do have something where you yell and the person's, normally the scorekeeper is sitting behind and you'll punch the button. But their voice control system is really nice.
Okay,
So,
great.
Yeah, question.
unless it's windy.
If weapons, they'll bring their own, right? And we wouldn't want them to come to school.
It's a felony to bring them to school.
Okay, that's why we make sure they understand that. Because, I don't want to go home and get like.
No. I told my kids, I said, saving that 15 minutes is not worth a felon,
Okay.
becoming a felon. So, yeah, it's still a felony.
So make sure they understand that.
Not even in your car at school, I would think.
Not under
School
18,
property.
or not as a student, you can't, no.
Just out of curiosity, how long does it take for a group of kids to get their shooting done for competition?
We set up, I set up for an hour for them to run through, because they shoot 2 rounds. But in reality, within probably 35 minutes, by the end of the season, they're done. Because it really doesn't take long. And like I said, the way we did in order to meet the requirements and stuff like that of our team is we had early, late, and real late. So we'd run from like 5 to 6, and then 6 to 7, and then 7 to 8. And so working with the kids' schedules, they would come and they would shoot, and then we'd record it and load it up and see how we did.
Any other
How
questions?
many high schools have these?
Last year, Oak Hill was the only one. We almost had Culver for a little while, but the last practice before we went into competition, they backed out, so we were kind of lonely. But the league was great. They actually set us up with a ghost competition with a school in Minnesota, or a league in Minnesota. So we were able to see where we would line up if we were actually competing with other people. So it was fun. The kids liked that. So
Ben, do you know how many of how many schools are in this state that participate?
we were the only one last year.
Oh,
State champs.
Yeah. They actually decided not to have a state championship.
good job, Ben.
So,
Mr. Young only brings the best.
but it was the first year in Indiana. They started in Minnesota and they keep adding states each year. Like I said, I think this is year 16 for them, for the league. And,
Larry, you better produce, we're going after him,
Ben, what are the 2 greatest things you think the young people learn or benefited from that program that you did?
being part of something. We had one of our gals that shot that, you might have read it in the newspaper, she really didn't find any other club or anything else at school that she really felt a part of. But this was something that interested her, and she stuck with it, and her parents gave her a lot of support. I also found it was very interesting, the eclectic group that we had out there, because some of them didn't play any other sport, but yet they absolutely loved doing that. And we had others that are the hunters, and they came out and they had to adjust a little bit. Shooting clay is a little different than shooting pheasants or ducks or something like that, so they had to do a little bit of adjustment for that. But yet we actually were invited to compete in another competition this summer. There are other clay leagues, clay shooting leagues in the state, but a lot of them are a lot higher competitive. What is it, the ATA has a younger league that they do, and a lot of them are separate clubs from schools. And so, like I said, they tend to be very competitive, and I like the fact that the kids could come out and just have fun. Most of them knew exactly where they needed to work, and they were competing more against themselves than anything. I want to break more this week than I did last week. And when one of our shooters finally got into double digits, it was, the smile on her face was just incredible, because she knew she had made it. She had finally got that feel down, where the clay was and what time to shoot, stuff like that. I've also seen parents with their kids developing relationships maybe a little bit deeper than what they had before, because now also they have an avenue that they had before. So.
I can see a young person like this young lady here learning discipline, responsibility, and selflessness, where you're not so concerned about you as you are about the people around you, that you're taking care of as well of yourself.
Most definitely.
So I feel better. I'll sleep on it.
In the vein of that question by Mr. Crouch about what kids got out of it, Tanner, will put you on the spot. This was obviously something very important to you, because you took the time to put something down in writing and prepare it for the board's review. Tell us why this is so important to you.
Well, I've always loved hunting in the outdoors, and I've loved shooting, and I think that there's a lot of kids in the school that love it just as much as I do, but they don't get to do it as much as I do. So I think this is a way for us to get out there and do it, and I don't play a sport, or I'm not in another club. So this was one way for me to get involved in the school, where I could go out and do something that I loved and be a part of the school.
Anything else?
I'll add one thing is, you don't have to be, you know, you can be in a wheelchair and still come out and shoot. It's not just for one type of, anybody can do it.
You don't have to be big, strong,
Nope.
run fast, knock people down.
Nope.
And there are colleges that offer scholarships to get on shooting teams too. So I mean, there's more beyond just this. It's an Olympic event. It's a Paralympic event. It meets Title IX.
Do we have a shooter right here? Well, what would you like to say about this?
I think it's a really good idea. It gives us all an opportunity that we may not have had before, and it could teach us a lot.
How long have you been doing this?
I shoot pistol, so I've been doing it about like 3 or 4 years.
She's good. I've seen her shoot.
Good for you.
See, I think also the fact that we hear a lot of negative press about guns, and this is an excellent opportunity to see some positive press about it. Like I said, especially if you start looking at some of the Olympic events and watch some of, I think it's Vince Hancock is a ski shooter that's on the Olympic team, and we've got our biathletes that shoot. And it's some positive stuff, that realize that it's a tool that can be used for fun and good, and not just
so much for coming and presenting to us today. And this will probably be on the agenda January 15th, so you're welcome to come back. And we would love to have you stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you'd like to jet out, this is the moment to do that. Again, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
All right, with that officially tabled until the next meeting, we will move forward to item 270, facility report.
Yes, one thing I was thinking of in regard to the facilities report is that, I don't know if you recall, a few months ago, we had a transformer problem out at the high school, and it was just moisture, rain. It was an original transformer for that building out at the high school, and a couple places rusted through, and it ended up causing us to lose power. Took all night for Collins Electric and Ted to put that system back together again, and Bruce Fleming might have helped with that, I don't know, but we got a temporary fix, and now we need to fix that on in a more permanent way, and that's gonna require us to shut the power down over the holidays on 2 different days for 6 to 8 hours. And those 2 days will be December 21st and December 29th. And that will affect the Wi-Fi in the buildings. That's all buildings, correct? All the buildings, the 4 schools and this building. And it will affect the phone system in all 4 buildings and this building. Now, the 4 schools were gonna be closed down anyway, but we were gonna be open those 2 days. But given that reality, no phones, no Wi-Fi, we're just gonna shut down the central office those 2 days. I'll let Ted give you a little more description about what's gonna be done. But we will be open over the holidays, we being the central office, on December 22nd and December 27th and December 28th. The central office will be open. We were gonna be open the 21st and the 29th, but given the circumstances, we will close. And it'll be a little extra break for the people that work in the central office that they do not normally receive. Ted, you want to explain a little bit more detail than what I gave?
I know, I think it was back in August when this happened, I sent you some photos of what took place. So there was just a huge bus bar coming off the transformer. It's a secondary side of the transformer that feeds the building. Comes off the top and goes into the building, and that's what went to ground and blew. So that's coming out, and they're gonna put a box on top and reroute it into conduit, and then into the switchgear, into the building. So that just gonna take time to process, to shut the power down and get all that completed. So right now, it's just temporary wire in plastic conduit into the building, and into the switchgear, and with the box around it, it's all safe. It's just a temporary fix. So it's a big process to get all that done. There'll be 6 conduits, 4-inch conduits that's coming back into the building to replace that big bus bar coming off the transformer into the building.
So the way it's been and the way it's gonna be, it's been for, please,
Mr. President,
Mrs. Freitas?
I move that we accept these conference requests.
Motion by Mrs. Freitas, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crouch. Any comments or discussion regarding conference request? Okay, not seeing any, all those in favor signify by aye.